Hello, my name is Mariana Bonilla. I am discussing today the Tuskegee Syphilis Study. This one was actually very interesting to learn about. I actually took it upon myself this past weekend to watch the HBO movie that was made, I believe, back in the early 90s called Miss Evers Boys. And it gave the perspective of the African American nurse that was there with the doctor taking care of the gentleman. Um, and it gave a great perspective as to what was really being done there. And I'll go more into details with that when we continue the presentation. So, to start off, the basis of the syphilis infection. Syphilis is a bacterial infection usually spread by sexual contact. The disease starts as a painless sore, typically on the genitals, rectum, or mouth. Syphilis spreads from person to person via skin or mucous membrane contact with these sores. It is very, very, very serious. It's actually become, unfortunately, more known here in this day and age due to just, non-protection, things of that nature. And they kept referring it, and especially in the movie as well, to bad blood, which I'll go over as well. I actually have an image that depicts that. After the initial infection, the syphilis bacteria actually can remain inactive in the body for decades before coming active again. So that's why these men, for the span of 30 plus years that these studies were going on, some of them didn't even know that they were sick. And they were just questioning that they were getting treatments, why, if it's all preventative. And then, the ones that were not tested positive, they were actually, of course, dismissed. But out of the 600, it was 400 that were infected, unfortunately. And without treatment, this syphilis can severely damage the heart, brain, and other organs, can be life-threatening. It can also be passed from mother to unborn child. And, unfortunately, many of the participants in the study that they didn't even know about, unfortunately suffered a very painful and gruesome death I couldn't even imagine, and my greatest sympathy for them and their families. So the facts of the Tuskegee study. So again, it was a span, actually just a little over 40 years, in Tuskegee, Alabama. 600 impoverished African American males, 400 of whom were tested positive. They were given free medical evaluations, everything of that nature, but patients were not given the diagnosis of their tests. And that led to a lot of, questioning, and it led to, more disciplined things down the line. However, though, there was a cure, penicillin, that actually became available in the 1950s, but studies still went on for another 20 plus years with the participants being denied proper treatment and given placebos, which is fake treatment. So that was, one major flaw, one of the biggest flaws of all, throughout the entire study. Due to the lack of the care, many of the participants, again, they died slowly and painfully. But the studies were finally at a conclusion in the year of 1973 by the U.S. Department of Health, Education, and Welfare. Thankfully, this led to the publication of the Belmont Report in 1979, which changed the future of research, and I will do that. That plays a major role in, the considerable research process that we actually have now for, humans. So this was by the National Commission of the Protection of Human Subjects of Biomedical and Behavioral Research, the Belmont Report. So number one, respective persons, requiring researchers to have verbal and written documentation, informed consent, in other words, to proceed with any procedures, receive any treatment, or even decline anything. We have the right to accept or decline in that sort of nature when it comes to especially our health. Second principle is beneficence. So that is giving basically giving everything black and white, no gray area. These are the benefits, these are the risks you have to take, this is the treatment, this is the exact steps of the treatment. So again, there's no gray area, there's no lack of information that could cause conflict or a disruption in the healing process, in the procedure process, things of that nature. And lastly, the principle of justice. making sure that there's just equal partnership, there's equal trust, there's equal participation, giving the exact same information as far as treatment, benefits, risks to every single patient, and not treating anyone any differently, and giving everyone the opportunity for their freedom of choice, and 14th Amendment, freedom of speech, and just giving them to the option to whether decline or respect. The legal results from the study, so 1972, July 26th, that came justice for the $9 million settlement, dated August 28th of 1975, finally went through the breakups of payments. The men were infected were part of the control group, whether the men were dead or alive. There was also breaking of payments to people that were directly not infected, but their families were affected. They also gave free lifetime and medical insurance to all of the people that had survived. The actually last survivor had died at 96 years old, I believe, back in 2017. The last survivor from the study, and their family still to this day is being taken care of, again with some distribution from the settlement. Now this here is for the basically the rundown of everything we had discussed. So the medical mistrust with the African American community, raising the mortality rates, skyrocketing, definitely from the 1940s specifically to the 1980s, due to racism, due to just discrimination all in whole, and basically using them as puppets to make sure that seeing them as a lower species, that's what they would refer to as, then less superior to the whites and even the Hispanics. So they were basically, again, the test dummies for the medicine, but they already had a cure. So it was just injustice. It was morally wrong. This study definitely changed the history of biomedical research participants for the rest of time. So again, the racism, the trauma specifically pertaining environmental. So there was a study done by two professors here at Tennessee University, which I referenced, and they were discussing, even going deeper into the more modern issues that African American deal with as far as police brutality, poverty, things of that nature, incarceration, and already seeing them as a negative statistic, to where back then these statistics weren't actually even promoted. For the study actually they had a tie for indifference to difference, is what the study was called. And it basically just shows over time how the environments have just gotten even worse for especially the male African American community, based off from this study specifically. And the legal and ethical principle risk, so being, again, trustworthy, having the nurse, not only the nurse, the doctor, the nurse's aide, with 600 African American men. Don't know why they're there. They are just as scared, but some of them don't even know that they're sick. So it's more than just a medical relationship at this point. It's a human being relationship. And it's, entrusting, just like we do every day with our dentists, doctors, lawyers, even our family members and partners. And the building of the relationship, the trust that this person is doing everything they can to keep you healthy and to, heal you in any way that they possibly can. Now, no one is perfect. People do make mistakes every day, and people have to be empathetic to that, but it comes to a certain line of are you morally doing the right thing to save this person, or just not? There's no really gray area when it comes to right or wrong, especially in healthcare. And taking a second look to make sure that everything is being done, even if it means getting the perspective of one or two more doctors to see if there's another way to, again, heal this person or even have preventative care for that. So in conclusion, the Tuskegee syphilis study has been known to be one of the most significant studies made in history because more specifically it led to the Belmont Report in 1973, respective persons, injustice, and beneficence. And these. Thank you so much. Have a good day.